Deepti Laurent joins me on the set for a look through the papers today. Hi, Deepti.
Hi, Jeannie.
You're going to start with all the focus on the truckers' movement in Canada against vaccine mandates. It's actually started to inspire other freedom convoys around the world.
That's right, and one as far as halfway across the world in New Zealand, where hundreds of protesters have been blocking the streets in Wellington with trucks, cars, and motorbikes. This week, they also pitched their tents outside the New Zealand Parliament, calling for an end to vaccine mandates and other pandemic measures, just like their Canadian counterparts. Things did turn nasty after protesters clashed with police as police tried to forcibly remove the protesters on Thursday. That's on the front page of the New Zealand paper, The Press, today.
Now, another paper from there actually comes out in favor of the police this morning.
Well, the editors of the New Zealand Daily, the Dominion Post today, in their editorial, applaud the police for acting with, quote, discipline and restraint. They're referring to the events, one incident in particular, when the words "hang 'em high" appeared on the Parliament's forecourt, presumably directed at politicians or the media. The paper calls these actions sickening and preposterous and say any damage done to the anti-vax cause this week was done by the protesters themselves. And as you mentioned, it has spread across the world. The Freedom Convoy in France, anti-vaxxers and those against the vaccine pass are heading to Paris this weekend. They're leaving Nice and they're heading to Paris and then Brussels next week. A movement that the local paper Nice Matin calls a sort of cross between the Yellow Vest movement and a motorized anti-pass protest.
And those protests in Paris have been banned by the police. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. All right, let's stay in France. The presidential election now is less than 2 months away. Emmanuel Macron has still not officially declared his candidacy for re-election, but nonetheless, he received quite a high-level endorsement.
He did. That was actually from Eric Woerth, who's a former minister of former President Nicolas Sarkozy, who's Woerth has sort of come out formally and endorsed Emmanuel Macron, whom he calls a good president during serious crises. He's on the front page of Le Parisien today. The paper saying that his endorsement is notably a major blow to the official right-wing candidate Valérie Pécresse, who's a candidate for for Les Républicains party. Now, Woerth's past history with Nicolas Sarkozy has some of the papers wondering if Nicolas Sarkozy will also endorse Emmanuel Macron at some point. It's impossible to say so for now, but Le Figaro, the conservative daily, says that Sarkozy's silence on the topic is also speaking volumes, and it's got notably Valérie Pécresse's team really, really worried. She was polling around 16% to Macron's 24% in a recent survey.
Let's go now to the UK, where there's a lot of happiness in the British papers today as COVID restrictions there are meant to be lifted in about 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, there's a lot of joy and relief indeed today, Jeannie. The Daily Mail is dubbing it Freedom Day, February 24th, when all COVID restrictions will be lifted and when the UK will leave the pandemic behind. A little bit of a hyperbole on their front page. They say that England is tearing up the COVID rules and leading the world. The end, that's how the Daily Star puts on its front page. A little bitter because it says it's the end of restrictions that, quote, Bozo and his chums never adhere to.
All right, something completely different now. You found a fascinating new study from Cambridge University that looks at how our musical tastes provide a window into our personalities.
Yeah, it's really interesting. This was a huge study. It drew on data from 350,000 people from more than 50 countries. Researchers basically asked them to rate music they liked among 23 genres and then complete a personality test. And what they found is the same types of personalities like the same types of music. So for the full conclusions, you can look at the results in the Times of London. But if you tend to like Marvin Gaye or Billy Joel or Elton John or Paul McCartney, then you have an agreeable personality. You're friendly and generous and easygoing. If you like David Bowie or Nirvana, then you're more of a neurotic personality trait. And if you're more of a Hendrix or Daft Punk fan, then you belong to the sort of creative, non-conformist type.
Interesting. All right, we'll have to talk about who's who in that
Exactly.
one in the newsroom. All right, let's just wrap up now. In the States, Republican lawmaker Marjorie Taylor Greene sparked a lot of deserved derision after comments that she made on Wednesday.
Well, she, in comments she made, the conservative congresswoman appeared to confuse Gestapo, Hitler's secret police, with gazpacho, the cold tomato soup.
I'm trying not to laugh. I'm really sorry.
In comments with a TV channel, she said, I quote, "Not only do we have the DC jail, which is a DC gulag, but now we have Nancy Pelosi's gazpacho police spying on members of Congress." Green was very appropriately roasted on social media. Let's show you some of those tweets. It's perfect fodder for Seinfeld fans. If you remember that episode, the soup Nazi episode, it's perfect. It hasn't gone unnoticed on Twitter. It's also sparked some award-winning puns like this one with the gazpacho police. Every crime is a cold case. And finally, this user speaks of soup of repression. Are you more Hitler's gazpacho or Stalin's goulash?
All right, I'll stop. Dipti, thank you. Nice way to wrap up the press review. Dipti Laurent there. Don't forget, if you want to get a closer look at the press review, either today or from the past, you can always check it out on the website. That address is france24.com.